Hello everyone and welcome back to 40k Teams. Do apologise for the later video this week. It's been hard to squeeze it in, but I am back and I have two team events for you this week. One is Allies of Convenience, where some of my community went up to play as part of the Vale Renegades, but also as a part of Team Wales for WTC as well. And a team tournament I completely didn't know about actually, that happened right on my doorstep, which is the Waagh Cup. So we're going to take a look at those events, take a look how the players did, take a look at a couple of lists as we usually do, and yeah, have an overview of their compositions and how they performed. Let's get to it. To kick things off here, we have Allies of Convenience, an 8-man WTC terrain event with 10 teams in total. We don't get a lot of 8-man teams in the UK, at least not that I know of, so this is probably the premium 8-man team event of the year. A lot of the Celtic nations, as well as England, in this case Team England, come together with some other teams formed of community members from around the UK to compete and, you know, give these WTC teams a chance to try the composition, try out some of their matchups and do some pairings to practice. So it's a really good event run by Team Wales to be able to give these teams an opportunity to test some things out before the main event, which is next week, I believe. So it's just on their doorstep. And as you can see here, we have Team Scotland in first place with a 5-0 clean sweep. In second place, we have Team England, which featured a couple of members of Team England, but also I think some of the coaching team and some of the prospects as well. Coming in third place, we had Team Wales with 3-2. And then fourth place, outside of the WTC teams, we had the Shoe Sniffers Anonymous 3 with a 3-2 as well. Now, no surprise here to see Team Scotland doing so well. They have been pegged actually by Art of War, or at least some members of Art of War, to become a tier 1 nation in the future. We'll see if they're able to achieve that at the upcoming WTC. So let's take a look at their team composition and see what they'll be taking. So their team composition for this event was list by list, player by player, their WTC team. So no subs here, no changes. We have an interesting choice of taking no Chaos Knights and no Imperial Knights. Now, they're not the only team to do this, and I think one of the consensuses of the WTC teams this year is you either take them or you tech to beat them. So in this case, Team Scotland's decided, you know what, we have the ability to take on Knights without actually needing them ourselves, and maybe that helps dodge some bad matchups, such as Eldari, which has become very popular in WTC. I think that's like 19 players playing it across 19 teams. So being able to take away those bad matchups can give them a little bit of an edge, but of course they still have to be able to beat the Knights as well. And considering that they actually played against Team England, Team Wales, sorry, which has both Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights, and they were able to beat them. So this team composition definitely showing it has the stuff. Some of the interesting choices here, I think, are the Liberator Assault Group, choosing that over Space Wolves, which is the more popular faction in WTC. There's also been talks of how Ultramarine Gladius could have been the pick as well if you want to counter Knights, but as there are some tier 1 nations that are not taking like double Knights, some are taking only one Knight, some are taking no Knights, maybe Team Scotland are preparing for that as well. Another interesting choice is Chaos Cult, and we'll be looking at that list in a moment. And I think I've talked about this on the channel before. Basically, when the meta game is hyper elite and hyper vehicle skewed, in the sense of like Knights and Death Guard to an extent as well, the answer to those problems are to take lots of anti-tanks, so lots of answers to deal with them. Things like Fire Dragons, Gladiators, Ballistus Dreadnoughts, you name it. If your faction has an option to deal high amounts of damage into hyper elite targets like Big Knights, you're going to take them. And the one thing that feeds into is Horde armies, because if you're going to be bringing all this anti-tank stuff, having the capacity to deal with a complete horde-based army becomes very, very difficult, which creates this heavily skewed metagame of you're either the big gun going to get shot by the anti-tank, or you're going to be the horde to counter the guys who are bringing the anti-tank, which does unfortunately create quite an unhealthy and unbalanced meta in some ways. But in teams, at least you can forgo that to some extent, because at the end of the day, every player who gets paired and plays within a team can do something to help their team get that win or that draw. But as you can see here, like I said, no knights, but we do have subterranean assault. We have combined arms, which is a good first defender. We have Mortarian's hammer, which going for that shooting vehicle skew, along with Star Shatter Arsenal, another answer to that. Then we have the more hoardy style list with Chaos Cults, and then Host of Ascension, just having loads of bodies, but also having a very good matchup into knights, and also being pretty good into Eldar as well. We have Grand Coven with Struan here, who's someone who plays for Swindon, I believe, and it's really cool to see him on Team Scotland. He's a friend of one of our local players, and we kind of heard rumblings of him applying, so it's great to see him get there. And then we have Larry on Liberator Assault Group, so quite a unique composition. No CK, no IK, but Death Guard too good to leave at home. Let's take a look at some of the top players at this event. As you can see here, Bruce taking 4 20-0s, 1 against Noble Lance, most notably, and then a 16-4 against Warhost. That Warhost might have had a lot of Swooping Hawks, which can help with the Accursed Cultist, but I don't think it'll ever be enough, as there's too many. There is a shell of Chaos Cults, which we've covered on the channel before, which are the Dark Communes with the Accursed Cultist. You take Cypher, you take an assortment of Cultist mobs and Traitor Guardsmen, and then from there you kind of get a bit of flexibility of how you want the list to go. And Bruce has decided for himself, he's taken the Cheap Lord Discordant here, which I quite like. You know, it's a fairly durable non-vehicle, which can be really annoying for fire dragons, as I've learned. That can apply some early pressure, and you know, just be a bit of a menace in the midboard. And then instead of opting for like a huge amount of Traitor Guardsmen, I used to play like 40 cultists, 60 Traitor Guardsmen. We do have the Chaos Predators instead, so we have 2 Destructors and 1 Annihilator for a bit of variety and output. We have some Nurglings for an infiltrate. They will protect the 1 Scout and Accursed Cultist with Warped Foresight. I believe Incendiary Goad is +1 strength if you're below starting. No, if you're below starting, you get +1 strength. If you're below half, you get +1 attack in addition. It's either that one or the reroll advances and charges, but that's the more popular one. Sorcerer and Terminator Armor. This is a way to allow the AC/DC to punch up. It has a 12-inch spell to add a pip of AP onto a target on a 2-up. One of the weaknesses of AC/DC can be going into Armor of Contempt 2-up saves. That could be a big problem for them, and this is a way that I had got around that problem when I used to play them. You bring the Sorcerer, you pop that AP on, so you make them at least have +1 AP when they have Armor of Contempt. So what makes this really strong? Obviously AC/DC, the Accursed Cultist Dark Commune, is a very punchy package, but the stratagems that you're offered are reroll hits, pass your Desperate Pact, reroll wounds, and then +1 strength, pass your Desperate Pact, reroll +1 attack as well. So +1 strength, +1 attack, reroll hits, reroll wounds, +2 to your move, +2 to your charge. So it makes a very fast unit that punches really hard, has a lot of models, can flood the board and make it really awkward for your opponent. So yeah, really good result here from Bruce. Let's take a look at another list from a different team. In second place in the player placings, we do have Samuel from the Shoe Sniffers Anonymous 3, bringing Space Wolves Gladius. I haven't featured Space Wolves yet, and since it did so well, I wanted to take a look at it. It had a 20-0 versus Champions of Faith, 13-7 versus Morty's Hammer, which is really good, 18-2 against Sub Assault, really good result as well, 13-7 against Aspect Host, again super result there against a really great faction, and 19-1 against Reaper's Wager. And as you can see here, we have the onslaught of characters with Ajax, Logan and Ragnar. We have 2 Iron Priests that help those ballistas and those Annihilators at the bottom get that extra shot, a Combi Lieutenant to do your actions, be annoying in the midboard, 20 Blood Claws to go with Ragnar, gives him a bit of a meat shield so he can activate multiple times, We have 5 intercessors, hold at home and sticky it, 5 scouts for a bit of mission play, 10 Wolfguard Terminators, which goes with Waagh, I believe, which allows them, I think allows them to do a first turn deep strike, and you can set up like this. I set this really like durable threat on an expansion if you go first, or you can just have this really beastie rapid ingress threat. So that's another good thing to consider when you're building a Space Wolves list. And then we have 2 lots of free Thunderwolf cavalry for early skirmishing, and then the ballistas and the predators to provide that shooting to go with the Iron Priests. So pretty standard Space Wolf stuff here, not going too heavy on the Thunderwolf Cav, opting for some more shooting elements there with the Iron Priests. I really like the Thunderwolf Cav as those skirmishing pieces for 100 points. They're fast, they hit reasonably hard, and they'll get some work done as well. So well done to Samuel with his Space Wolves Gladius. Let's take a look at the event that was on my doorstep, and the event I didn't go to, which I could have. I should have formed a team for it. One last thing to note before we move over, I just want to say a big congratulations to the Vale Renegades team that went to this event. Vale Renegades is my club, and we had 8 representatives from the club go up there with no real expectations, but to do the best they can, and with such a wide variety of players within that team, like being able to achieve what they achieved was such a big thing for them. So well done, guys. We were all rooting for you back home, and it is great to see you guys do so well. So yeah, big shout out to you guys at Vale Renegades for participating at that event. Let's take a look at the one that was on the doorstep. So Cardiff, 8 teams of 5-man at the Waagh Cup 2. I've been to one of these events before. I think it was Cardiff Carnage Teams it was called beforehand. I missed the last one because I was really ill. No, I missed the one. So my teammate Andy missed the last one because he was really ill, and I missed the one before because I was really ill. So I haven't been able to play in these for a while, at least with my main team. And most of our team and our community was actually at Allies of Convenience. So a bit of an inconvenience, I guess, when it comes to the Vale Renegades entering a tournament on our doorstep, especially with something like Allies is happening as well. So a bit of a clash of schedule, unfortunately, but you know, they had a good turnout here. They had 8 teams. They had Mind Goblins coming down in first place with a 5-0 clean sweep. Bristol Crusaders coming into Cardiff and doing well with a 4-1. And then we have Nemesis, Venator Gaming, which I haven't seen before or heard before, so it would have been nice to play against them, taking a 3-2. And another Bristol Crusaders. They had a much longer name. I think it was like 2 Heretics, 2 Xenos, and an Ogrin walk into a bar, or an Ogre walk into a bar, and they had a 3-2 as well. So let's take a look at Mind Goblins' winning team. As you can see here, Chaos Cult making its appearance again. It's one of the answers that I think the community, especially in teams, are becoming comfortable with as an answer to Knights and maybe Eldar as well. So a really good 2-1 package there. I'd be curious to see how it does into Death Guard. I think the -1 to hit could be really annoying because they hit on 4s anyway, unless you activate the Dark Commune's ability to give them +1 hit, +1 to wound, but that's only once per game. So maybe Death Guard's a bit hairy. It'd be interesting to see how that matchup plays out, but of course, as you can see, it is picking up in popularity. We had Combined Arms as, you know, a really solid guard attachment, which we see a lot. Berserker Warband make its appearance here. It's been kind of hit or miss in team comps throughout July. It was much more popular in June, but we see Adam here bringing them to the table. Tom Green, a very well known Oathband Votan player within the region. I haven't met him personally, but I know from communicating with teammates of mine that they've played against him, or they've spoken to him, and he's a really good Votan player, so no surprise to see him on a winning team here. And finally, this is a detachment I did not expect to see in a winning team, and that is an Inner Circle Task Force. Now, I actually thought I'd got this wrong when I read it, because I didn't know the name of this detachment. I thought Inner Circle, aren't they the models, you know, the unit with the swords and the robes? They have their own detachment, and it's not really the case. An inner circle is part of the law, right? So that was just me being a bit of a doofus, but it's cool to see Inner Circle Task Force with Wrath of the Rock being so popular. So we're going to actually take a look at this list and see what was in it. Alright, we're taking a look at the spicy list of this week. We have the Inner Circle Task Force, brought by Louis our Mind Goblins, taking 220 nils versus Berserker Warband and Grand Coven, a 16-4 against Aspect Host, a 12-8 against Space Wolf Stormlance, and a 16-4 against Chaos Cult. So Chaos Cult once again has found its way into another composition. You can see here that this list has performed really well against some of the top of the meta, taking great scores against strong lists. So what does this do? Okay, this is the big question. So Inner Circle Task Force, you basically get to choose an objective you control or objectives you don't control, and you get abilities based on those objectives. So you get +1 to wound for your Deathwing units when you select these objectives, but they also activate other things within your stratagems, like the stratagem for like reroll 1s to wound, but if you join your varied objective you get full rerolls to wound and stuff like that. So it's about choosing objectives and it's about gaining buffs on it, but there are some pretty interesting tech pieces in here. Now, I don't know for certain this is how Louis run it, but based on what I've read about the detachment and some of the units, which I'd never even looked at the datasheets before today, what I think is happening here, which I could be corrected if I'm wrong, Azrael and potentially Asmodai are going to be going in 2 Sternguard veteran squads, with Ezekiel going in the Assault Intercessor squad. Now this is probably interchangeable, but the reason I think Asmodai and Azrael are going in these Sternguard veteran squads is because there is a 6-inch deep strike ability for the Deathwing keyword. Now Asmodai and Azrael have the Deathwing keyword, so having the ability to 6-inch deep strike with Sternguard, with 2 characters give them really good buffs. So Azrael obviously gives them that 4-up invuln, it gives them sustained. Asmodai gives them reroll hits, so without needing the oath target, and of course you can all get rerolls to wound as well with the Sternguard vets, which offers some really powerful output for these little MSU pieces. I could be wrong, Louis. If you are watching this, you correct me if I'm wrong, or if anyone in the comments. There's also, the Deathwing Knight package. They're really good at the moment, I think. Mace of Absolutions, Wounded Knights and stuff on 4s, -1 damage, access to Armor of Contempt. They're just really solid for their points. They offer a bit of a stat check, and since this meta is very stat check driven at the moment, Deathwing Knights in, I think, 15 if you're playing Dark Angels are pretty much mandatory. We have some skirmishing pieces, we have infiltrators, we have reavers, we have scouts for the early game. We also have a Calidus Assassin to provide that vect, maybe shut down some key stratagems that are needed in stuff like Chaos Cults or Aspect Host. And then we have 15 Vanguard vets providing even more skirmishing. So quite an MSU driven Dark Angels list with a mixture of durability in the Deathwing Knights, a mixture of mobility in the Vanguard vet squad, and potentially a mixture of tricks with the 6-inch deep strike. So yeah, well done to Louis, bringing some spice to the world of teams. It's great to see you doing so well on such a unique list, and yeah, I'm really happy for you, dude. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. And that wraps up this episode. Thank you very much for everyone who tuned in. Cool to see something spicy in the Inner Circle Task Force list. Also great to see some strong results there from Allies and Convenience, and players from my club going up there and doing really well. So well done, guys. So until next time, guys, take care, and I will see you next time on 40k Teams.